Hello, everybody. This is episode 10 of Shoot the Breeze, a chill interview and chill times all around for you and me. I am your host, Heavy Divider, and right alongside me is, well, they are a very gentle soul.
Happy.
They're a very gentle soul, as a matter of fact. They are actually a pretty kind person to be able to hang out with and just have a very good conversation no matter what it is about. They're also very good. They're also pretty good at roleplay, as well as being able to be a very good model maker, no matter what it is or so, as well as just be able to show off the many talents they have on hand. With me tonight is...
this day, even though it wasn't that long ago, to this day, Saya's wedding dress is like one of my favorites.
Yeah, you did a good job for it. You did a really excellent job. So with me tonight is I almost feel like I'm about to butcher your last name to this, but basically it's Pappy-Hal, but I call her Pappy for short. We call her Pappy for short. So welcome.
Everybody calls me Pappy.
Oh,
like one person calls me Hal.
Hal. I feel like it's just like a joke. I feel like it's just like a joke, or so it's like when they first meet you, they just go Hal or something like that. Hal. But yeah, so Pappy, first question I have for you right off the back is, how the hell did we meet?
I think it was through VRHigh, actually.
Yes, it is.
But I think we met, like, before then, like, briefly, like, from time to time, but never really talked, but we, like, connected over VRHigh, didn't we, really?
I will say...
That's how I, like, connected with a bunch of people, like, I connected with Zeshin and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And, like, I kind of, even though I've known Saya since, like, the beginning of, being on this game, I kind of reconnected with her again then. Because ever since then, we've like been in more contact than we were previously.
Oh yeah. So yeah, for the most part, like I guarantee you, we may have bumped into each other. Like in the world of VRChat, with how many people are here, I guarantee we probably bumped into each other once or twice and didn't even realize it. And but as for like that connection on here, or be able to get to know each other, so yeah, that was for VRHigh. First episode.
First episode of VRHigh. There's like times where I miss VRHigh, but it was just like the way it was sort of organized was a bit
I know.
And it started out where like you had like skits and like recaps and stuff. They were fun and everything, but I think after a bit they just sort of got a bit sort of like more of a slog, really. And I think part of that was because the person who was editing them, Ness, who's now called Chingset, sort of like fell out of motivation with doing it. Yeah. And I think a lot of people just fell out of motivation of continuing the IP. Yeah. To be fair.
Yeah. There could be many reasons on hand exactly what it is, but when it comes down to like the main reason on hand or so, that would probably be right there. Main reason overall for the most part. But
I'm actually glad that some of the characters have sort of like continued on into the university IP, like your character, Saya's character, and a bunch of other characters. Some characters I made like last season's.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that all well enough. Especially with the whole like, I felt like this was based on the Phantom Thieves or so, especially with the masks and everything. Correct? Like the thing you both did?
The last season, the last sort of bit we did with VRHigh, it kind of had that sort of thing to it, yeah, but I can't exactly remember where else we got that inspiration from.
I'm right.
But I think it was definitely one of them.
Okay, so I was gonna say that was actually one of the topics I was gonna ask you later on, so for it, but the second question I have on hand is your VRChat origins. How did you stumble upon this game, or so?
Well, I sort of stumbled on it like the way I think a lot of like people who joined like ages and ages ago. Anyway, it was like YouTube like got like nags and all them kind of like old YouTubers that moved on and everything. And I was just like, what is this game? And I sort of looked more into it, and then I saw like on Twitch people were streaming it and stuff. And that's when I came across Rocket UW and Bonfire, where they became pretty big, especially Bonfire, through doing character impressions of All Might and Deku. And I sort of got into that community and sort of went into the Discords and made quite a few friends from it. And like you got like Darth and Bonfire himself and all that kind of stuff. And I somehow managed to get connections to all these people through these other people. And then there was like, I was just like, oh, I wish I could join the game as well. I wish I could get into the game. And because at the time I didn't have a PC, I just had Macs because I used them a lot for university. They were very helpful. And I can't remember who came up with it. I think it was my friend Rusty. He came up with an idea and it's like, hey, why don't we make a donation pool to pay for a PC and a VR headset? And so him, Jubal, and Winters all sort of chipped in to help get it. But what we did was, because I didn't like getting money from people without giving back, so what we did was we did commissions and stuff like that. They did models and I did art because I didn't know how to do model stuff at the time. And eventually it just sort of all added up over a few weeks and I got my PC and VR.
Nice.
And they came in very quick succession with each other. It's like we ordered the PC and 2 days later the PC was here. I'm like, oh, nice. And then we also ordered the VR like the day after because it had just gone over at that time. And then the VR came the next day and I was just like, yes, get in now.
And I'm guessing you had the exact same kind of experience when it comes to like getting into VR for the first time, trying to wear it and just try to get used to the fact that you can actually see your hands move around and all that. Or just be able to try to get used to like, depending on your motion sickness.
It was pretty cool because I actually remember the day that I first tried on VR. I didn't like download VRChat and stuff right away or anything. I just sort of sat around in like that hub world that you're in like before you enter a game, just messing with everything and getting used to the controls and everything. And it was just so weird because it was just like everything was there but not really.
No, I got you.
It's really weird.
No, I feel you. I definitely feel you on that one. Especially just trying to like
And I didn't get motion sick.
Yeah.
People tried to do the whole first day in VRChat thing with the roller coaster and everything, and I didn't get motion sick. Other people did, but I didn't.
Or basically somebody try to go like, well, let me check and see if you can feel this or so, and they like take your finger. They try to take their like VR finger and see if you can feel it when they kept poking you right in the face. So.
Yeah, they tried to test me for phantom senses. Nope.
Yeah.
To this day, I still don't have it.
So, let's talk about hobbies on hand besides this game. Now, the thing is, too, I already know for the fact you do art. Also know the fact you do, like, model making and everything. But I was gonna say, do you play any games outside of this game entirely? Or just, like...
Well, one of the big ones is, something I need to get back into, to be honest. Final Fantasy 14. Because it's like, I was never sort of big on MMOs when I was growing up. But because it's based on Final Fantasy and I loved the Final Fantasy games, it sort of drew me into it and I actually quite liked it. It's like one of the first MMOs I actually really liked, besides RuneScape. But RuneScape was like, I had no patience for it and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing then. And because I also tried World of Warcraft, and it was okay, just didn't pull me as much as Final Fantasy. And I tried World of Warcraft Classic because I remember the day when it came out, me and a bunch of people were in a call just waiting in queue to get into a server because they decided to pick a server that all the streamers were on. I was like, okay.
No, I get you.
And I tried to get into that. It was okay for a time because I was playing with people like I was playing with the person I was dating at the time and everything. And and then I just sort of dropped off it, and I was just like, it's not as good as I thought it was.
There goes my hand.
I mean, it's good, but it's not as pulling as it is for like Final Fantasy.
No, I feel you. I will say too,
It's like the battle system and everything is all different, and it's just weird.
I will say, with how much content is in Final Fantasy 14, trust me, if you're starting out or so, you got a lot of time on hand to be able to try to get for some of the content on hand, especially if you're starting out. The thing too is, I need to get back into Final Fantasy 14. I say that so much, but at the same time, I gotta find time for it too.
Plus with Final Fantasy 14, the difference between that and Warcraft is when you do Warcraft, you go onto like what's it called, one class, and then you stuck with that class or like the subclasses or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
With Final Fantasy 14, you can be any class, anytime.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to try and come up with like different strategies for different kind of thing, like different situation, and finding out what your main for each sort of class type is.
And it had like very interesting oddball jobs on hand. Like basically, if you want to become a cook, you can become a cook. If you want to be a fisherman, you can become a fisherman. And it's just like, different things on here you can easily work with for it. Oh, by the way,
everything in that game is easy, but it's like it's very chill. It's chill.
Very chill.
Fishing time.
Especially when there's people there who can actually help you out. No, it's good. I had a question from a kiddo here, basically for both of us. VRChat has helped out a lot of people with their anxiety, but what if you're developing anxiety since joining? What advice would you guys have for those of us dealing with this right now?
Well, I'd say like VRChat is a good sort of way to help with anxiety somewhat, but it also depends on who you're hanging out with, if they like understand anxiety and stuff. Because a lot of anxiety and like depression related stuff can be related to social interaction. And if you keep in mind that the person that's standing here is not actually here in real life, it might actually help because you're still on your own but talking to other people.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do have anxiety, but I see it like this, where basically, if you're in a room full of people you don't know or so, for me, it's like, I always say I gotta feel their energy out. Basically, for the sense of I'm trying to figure out what their personality's like, how they are or so, and just basically try to get that comfortable feeling of it. So sometimes you would see me in the back, or just try to observe and see what's going on around here or so. And that's usually the best method on hand before you just kind of like you don't have to start a conversation with somebody. Sometimes you can just listen in and then jump in with like a comment or so, and then there you are in the conversation. It's just a matter of just basically listening and observing on hand to be able to get to know people here or there. So
I still get twinges of anxiety, but it's like, I think a lot of it is more related to loud noises. Like, I don't mind, like, there's a lot of people there and they're talking and everything and having a good time. It's just that because the sound, they took out, like, some kind of sound thing, I've forgotten what it's called, but it's like, when you're there, it's like you can hear everybody at the same volume at the same time. And sometimes that just makes me just want to back off and just like it sets off my anxiety somewhat, because it's just a lot of noise. Because I don't like a lot of noise coming into my ear all at once, so I just sort of back off a little bit. And some people break off and come to me, but it's just like I just back off and just pull myself together a little bit.
Well, not only too, it's also the fact that when you're having a conversation with somebody, which again, it still baffles me today how, like, you can have, like, a room of 40 people, and for some reason, they're able to hear the conversation in front of them when they have, like, at least 12 to 14 people right next to them talking over each other. So, but at the same time, it's one of those things where if you're trying to understand somebody or be able to, like, have a conversation with them, it's kind of like I have a hard time being able to, because sometimes I need to pull that person to the side to be able to hear what they're saying, because it's, like, too much input is what it is. When you have, like, so many voices and so much information coming from everybody else, it's too much input to be able to even understand what this person's talking about. Especially if they're soft-spoken or they're just speaking a normal voice. You don't want them to yell or anything just for the... So...
like a lot of times where I'm like having a conversation with somebody might just come in and say something like unrelated or something, and then it distracts this person from the conversation, and then I'm just here trying to keep the conversation, and they've just lost. It just seems like the other person's lost interest at that point because they got distracted by this other person coming in. And it's kind of frustrating because it's happened quite a bit to me, like even like during an RP or something. I'd be doing a thing where I'm developing a character thing, and then somebody else would come in and it just sort of like knock it off completely, and I'd just be like,
No, I feel
just
you.
be like, I give up.
No, I got you.
That's why when I do like development stuff, like the stuff I've been doing on Twitter and all that kinds of things, that's why I do a lot of stuff like that on Twitter, like development character stuff, like stuff I couldn't get out. I sort of find a way to get it out in text form.
No, I feel you. I feel you on hand. And it's one of those things too where basically, like, everybody wants to meet everybody, you know? Kind of thing where basically you're talking to your friends, trying to have a good conversation. So sometimes there might be somebody walking in you haven't seen in a while, or basically you just want to say hello to everybody around you as best you can, you know. And it's just one of those things where basically you just gotta, in that kind of sense, you gotta try to focus on who it is in front of you, because you know it's kind of like one of those things you don't want to be rude to the conversation on hand, especially if you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Especially be like, you know, just looking around, see how everything is, and just be able to keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
So.
It can especially be like frustrating sometimes if person is like a streamer or something. Like, and they're usually like high energy, and you're having a conversation with them, and they get distracted and run off. Like for example, I like try to engage into a conversation with like Curry or something, and then because he's like streaming and stuff, like he can pay attention, but like then somebody will come along and then it'll just like go off somewhere else, and that's fine. But it's like kind of like frustrating when like you're trying to talk to somebody, be it streamer or not, or somebody well known or whatever, and then it just gets thrown off because people are coming in and distracting them or something like that.
No, I understand. I understand fully. And also too on hand, I was gonna say let's also talk about a little bit of modeling on hand. How did you get your start with modeling?
Well, my first like few models were actually made by like Jubal and Winters and stuff, get me started and things, and they were the ones that kind of encouraged me, especially Winters, just to like try and make my own. So what I just did one day is I just thought, F it, I'm going to learn how to do models. So I looked up the Topper video and just got the basics down and made my first sort of avatar, like retextures and stuff, and I sort of like self-learned some stuff and got some stuff from like Google or whatever, and then it just sort of went on from there. And I got help from like Wince every now and then as well. So.
Yeah. And the thing too is,
helped me a lot with model stuff.
I haven't got a chance to talk to. Well, actually, I think the only time I ever talked to Winters was during the Tories for Tots charity. Then when he was he asked a question about something, and I was able to respond to it in DMs with a link for it. I think it was something to do with the. I think it was something to do with like a certain animation on hand that everybody had for like art. So I just kind of like passed him that link to the commission of that. I think that was my only time talking to him. Well,
Did you not meet him at TwitchCon or anything?
I actually met him at the Kinetic party. Like, he stood out. Let me put it this way. He stood out because he was pretty much taller than anybody else in the room.
Oh, yeah, he is very, very tall.
he is a very tall individual. But I was about to say, as far as, like, conversation or so, just be able to talk to him or so, I wouldn't say I would be able to talk to him, like, in-game, because I think he's mostly mute.
No, I don't think it's a case of him being mute. I think it's just like he's a quiet dude.
Okay.
And he just says something when he wants to say something.
Okay, I got you.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
But he's like a quiet dude. So yeah.
Alright, I'll keep that in mind. Like, if I ever bump into him, I'll keep it in mind, especially for information-wise or so. But, let's talk about communities on hand. Now, there was a question I would like to ask you on hand, and I mentioned this, like, earlier on. It was about what the, Valkyrie Chronicles kind of, like, group you have on hand. The Galalian, 9 or something? Sorry, if I say that incorrectly. That group on hand, how did that form up, out of curiosity? Because I remember, like, me and a couple others, like, this was during the whole VRHigh, like, we had, like, a side RP at that time, and basically I remember joining on you guys, and there was, like, different people on hand. There was one who basically had, like, this worm avatar for a head, or so.
Well, it was formed, like, before I even joined, but, how I got to join was, I joined off a friend of mine called McLovin.
I recognize the name.
He was part. I think he was already a part of that group at that time. But it was sort of like there was like a bunch of people in this same uniform, the same blue, red, and white uniform, and I was just like, oh, what's this? And they were recruiting another one of my friends at the time who was also there, and I was just like, hey, I want to join. So they put me through like all the stuff. It's like it wasn't like a super formal like question and drill thing. It was just like a silly mean thing that they did. They asked me a bunch of weird questions, and then they did like a drill thing where I had to do push-ups and stuff. It was kind of funny. And the person that was doing the drills for me was actually somebody that was like my squad leader, because shortly after I joined another squad was formed, because there was like set squads that did different things, and it was based on the lore of Valkyria Chronicles. And they formed Squad 9, which was like R&D and stuff. And the person that was the head of that was a man called Rocky Dog, and people might know him from doing the climbing carnival.
Yeah.
The climbing carnival and stuff like that. And I just joined on him, and I sort of joined on him one day, and he was like, do you want to be in Squad 9? I was like, oh yeah, sure. And that was like one of the first times I properly talked to him, and one of my good friends now who formed Galia Wolfgrum. And he asked me if I wanted to be in Squad 9, and I was just like, yeah, sure. And so it just became that. And then like a few days later, because it was a newly formed squad, he's like, do you want to be a sergeant? I was like, oh yeah, sure. And then I just hung out with them a lot, and it kind of like became a second home, because I got along with a lot of the people there, and people I didn't know I got along with quickly. And then I just eventually Rocky decided to like step down as squad leader, and he's just like, do you want to be squad leader? So I was just like, yeah, I'm okay, whatever. And he's just like, and so I became lieutenant of the squad, and the whole Gallian Nines thing is basically like a tribute to that, because since then we've gone back to an old way of doing things where everybody's in one squad, and that's it.
Okay.
Because they had to redo the server because of like drama and stuff going on in the server and other things, and just wanting it to go back to how it was, where everybody was more of a friend group rather than people going at each other a lot. So.
No, I understand. And I assume they're still going. Are they still going to this day, or are they just kind of like, it's kind of like a small group, and it's kind of like, you know, they're here and there?
They're still going. It's not as active as it used to be, but that could be the fact that the situation with the COVID stuff and it being summer and everything.
Yeah.
And then there's like, but it's like it's still active, but not as active as it used to be. And I still like talk to people within that group on the regular. So.
I got you. So, for the next community I have on hand to ask you, let's talk about the Leonhards. Now, I've been around, I was going to say, between you and me, I've been around the Leonhards longer than you, but I will say for the most part, What was your introduction into the Leonhards, if I can ask that question?
Well, it sort of started. It sort of like started where I actually befriended. I befriended Leo, and this was like before he suggested about the Leonhard thing and stuff. Because when we started the Code Vein RP a while back, that was like when I met him and when I friended him. And I think Saya talked me up a lot to him. I'm not sure, but who knows?
I mean, she did the exact same thing for me. She did the exact same thing for me towards Leo too. So.
And it was like not super long after I was invited into the server, and I spent a lot of time just being somebody that chilled there, and I was like, hey, I want the RP tag, but never really made anything because it was like at a time where I was sort of like taking a break from like RP stuff or like joining another RP or something like that. I can't exactly remember. But it was like a time when I was sort of feeling a bit burnt out on like RP stuff because I think it wasn't. No. I think it's because I was in like, I felt I was in like too many RPs because I'm not like, say, I can't be in like 20 different RPs at once.
No, I got you. I got you.
And it took me a while to get into that RP, and I just like, I can't think of anything. And then I was, it came to the point where I was character locked in Code Vein, and Leo was saying about how he missed, like, I was saying to Leo about how I missed RPing with him and everything, and I think he missed it as well. So he suggested, hey, why don't you become a bodyguard for Leo? And I was just like, oh, okay. And then it sort of became where I created this character who is actually connected to another character of mine back from VRHigh days, because I want to keep him in an RP because I enjoyed the character a lot. And her name is Amelia Crow, who's related to a character called Crow from VRHigh. And yeah, I'm sort of like continuing on that a little bit, and just enjoyed playing her ever since. But I think the fact that she's related to a character I very much like, I very much love creating and developing, I think that sort of factored into it a little bit.
Oh yeah. And the thing too is like understand, no matter what RP is or so, yeah, there's always going to be a little bit of work on hand, but it's also too, it's also the fact of just trying to be able to keep up with everything. And it's one of those things too where it's like, it's one of those things too where basically, yeah, there's serious RPs, you know, you gotta have like the lore down to a T on exactly what you gotta do, and then there's like certain ones that I just like, you just enjoy, like chill RPs, where basically you don't have to really keep the lore down, but you can improv it down, which is exactly what, it's one of those freeform kind of like RPs where you can just easily just kind of like have a good time with it and just be able to pull something out of thin air and just be able to create like this great scenario on hand.
Yeah.
On hand.
The thing is, with keeping up with like storylines and stuff in RP, if you enjoy the character and if you enjoy the world, it's not work to keep up with it and everything. That's why I've enjoyed like the Leonhardt RP so much, because it's like something that I want to keep up with and stuff, because I am like more involved in the story rather than just being like somebody that comes in and says, oh, you've got this thing, you've got to save the world or something like that. I don't know.
No, I feel you.
Because my character has a connection to people within the story.
Well, my character's pretty much just they file papers. That's pretty much it. I keep it simple because I know for the fact I can't be there all the time, just because I got my own thing to deal with. I got IRL stuff, so it's hard for me to really be there, especially on days that, you know, if they pop up or basically be scheduled 2 weeks in advance. So, but so let's talk about, okay, we talked about this earlier on, but I would like to dive a little bit more into it. Let's talk about VRHigh on hand, and I will say for the most part, like, mostly the original members of that have been there for the longest time. Some of them have moved away here and there, but some of the major ones, like from, I believe it was you, me, Saya, Leon, Zeshin, couple of other people. They're like the original from the season 1s. We're still there. But
like, Miata stuck around
Miata
for a
did too
long
as well.
time, but like reasons beyond our control.
Beyond our control.
She had to leave. Yeah.
All that
but
entirely.
It's fine. It's fine now. It seems like it's sort of like one of those situations where it's just like forgive and forget. Really.
Forgive and forget, and everything's mellowed out. Everything's mellowed out, and it's one of those things where basically I think she did come to me and just be like sort of kind of regretful about some of the things she did. But it's a story for another time. It's another story for another time. I will say, like, I mentioned at the session, I mentioned to, like, I can't remember who else I mentioned it to, but I was going to say, if we ever had a chance to be able to have, like, a small reunion, just to be able to catch up with one another, I would actually like to have a VRHigh reunion. Just to be able to catch up with everybody, see how things are going.
That would be cool.
It would be.
That would be cool.
Like, because it's been like
some of the people, like Ness, I think he had to move back to his parents' house because he can't afford to stay where he is. But so I don't know about him.
I understand. That'd be all good. But I will say too. Also, let me just ask you this: what would be, off the top of your head, what would be the best moment out of VRHigh that you can possibly remember that would stick out to you to this day?
One of the best moments of VRHigh. But one of the big things that I really enjoyed about VRHigh is being able to make villains, like good villains, or help out with making a good villain, because part of like what Ash did and stuff, while Leon had like the reins for it, I was sort of there to put my ideas in and as well, so I was quite proud of like how he developed Ash along with like mine and Ness's help and stuff. But also I did enjoy like the introduction and like the sort of like build up of like Weaver to when he actually came into the school and everything. And he did that whole thing where he did the mind control on my character and somewhat his character, and then it was like the bit where everybody was sort of rushing up to him, like he had boys going up to him and trying to beat him up with Spider-Man. He had like all these people, and he would just shrug it off and just go like that, and it was just like. And the thing is, I don't know how he managed to do it, because I wasn't super like sort of what's it called, specific about how Weaver would behave, but for some reason Ness just nailed it. And I was just like, this is perfect.
Yeah, I do.
And like when.
No, go ahead.
I mean, like you did a good job when you played him. It's just
it was just a little too over aggressive.
You played him a bit too aggressive, because he's not an aggressive guy.
I was about to say, if I could look back at my footage, which I always highlight everything and put in my archives on Twitch, if I just look back to it and find that footage, I could probably just easily look over and see exactly how it was played for it. But it's just basically
because I mean like Weaver can be aggressive, but the way he's aggressive is not like angry aggressive, is like sort of like
passive aggressive.
It's passive aggressive, but it's also kind of like manipulation and stuff as well, because he's very manipulative, which Orion did a very good job with. He did a good job with Weaver. I trust
Orion over any villain.
And he told me that he's looking, and I remember him telling me he's looking forward to Weaver coming back, because he really enjoyed playing him. So I'm just like, yes, that's one of the aims. I want the people who play my characters to have fun playing them. Because let's face it, as much as like being the hero and everything is good, being a villain is fucking fun.
Oh yeah, it is. I have tried to play a villain, but it's one of those things. It's like it's one of those weird meshes where because it's one of those weird meshes. It's like when it comes to villain, it's like you gotta have a good reason to be a villain, but at the same time, be able to present yourself as one. And for me, it's kind of like hard to do that. I think it's just because of the fact that I let my own lightheartedness get in the way of my seriousness. And I'm pretty sure that's been shown so much, especially being VRHigh or like the university or anything else, because I would just make a certain situation lighthearted just to be able to cool things. I think it's because Pork rubbed off on me with his puns and stuff. But
I think it was just I also had fun playing the masked villain.
I remember.
Somehow, to people's surprise, people were surprised when I revealed it was actually Crow, but using his powers as a way to sort of like fool them and everything. And I was just like, I made it a bit obvious. I guess I wasn't obvious enough.
Yeah, that's good. That's good on hand. So, for some different topics on hand, we'd like to ask you. Let's talk about the VRChat Current Present at the moment. So, if you could compare it to your first day on VRChat with how everything was, and compare it to right now or so, what would be something you would actually wanted to, like, from that day to this day? What would have been something you wish they would have kept here that should have stayed, or something that they should have not had on hand that didn't need to be removed or so? Or
something that they should have kept. First of all, the voice proximity stuff. I don't know why they took that out, because it used to be where they had it in the settings where you could like turn it off and on, but now they've just took it out completely. I don't know why. And it would be nice to have, like, when you click on a person, they have like an option to turn their voice up and down, because they don't know how to balance the mic levels. And some people are really loud, and some people are really quiet.
I actually forgot that it existed.
Turn up the quiet people and turn down the loud people.
I actually forgot that existed.
No, it's not something. It's not the individual mic thing. It never existed. It's just something that I'd like in, because I can't really think of anything that we used to have that I would like in.
Okay. I mean, it would work differently.
I think the whole ranking system is a bit pointless, to be fair. Other than the whole you can't upload an avatar straight away, because that sort of deters, even though it doesn't deter them for long, it sort of deters hackers and client users and crashes and stuff. I think that's like the only thing that it was good for, because I don't know.
Yeah.
What you could do is you could have, if you had a ranking system, rather than have like multiple ranks, have like 2 ranks, one that's a new user and one that's a user. Just have it where it's like a person becomes a user after like a week of playing or something like that.
Well, it's also based on the fact too, like, let me put it this way, like back then again, like you could go to a pub and everything, everybody would have like the exact same ranking. Like you wouldn't be able to tell, who's new, who's this, who's that. But it's one of those things nowadays or so, like if you go to a pub nowadays or so, like it would be considered no man's land, just because there's like new users, because you have no idea if there's some good people in there, if there's some actual bad people, or there's actually pure like shit posters there that are just there just to stir the pot just for the sake of reactions, So
actually, come to think of it, another thing that is good with this ranking system is you're able to like mute like microphones with like certain groups of people, because some people will just run up to you and say the N word over and over again, and if you've automatically got that blocked, it's just like, you can say all you want, I can't hear you. But I think, like, even though it's like something that's memed now, I think there was like a time where it first introduced that there was like the sense of elitism. That makes sense? Like with trusted users being kind of elitist.
Yeah, it was.
And that's not fair.
Yeah, I could see it.
Not fair on other people, because people that were like that just excluded other people that were either lower or a different rank to them, and it's not fair. or the person was seen in a certain way because they're in the same rank as somebody that crashed them or something like that.
It's mostly kind of like being wary of somebody if they're at that certain rank or so. Like if you're not purple or so, people won't. If you're like purple, people won't really think too much about it. But when it's like if you're like, say like blue or green or something like that, people will be wary just because they have no idea who you are. But at the same time, they're more worried about like assuming that they're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Weird, kind of like weird pressure that comes out of it.
I also want VRChat to do that thing, like, do you know when you're in an invite world and it's somebody else's world and somebody requests on you and it says, blah 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 wants to join, ask somebody to join, and then you click OK.
Yep.
I would like it where it actually sends the invite along to the room owner, where it would say like, oh, this person that's in the room has OK as wants this person to come into this room, will you let them, or something like that. I mean, that could cause spam, but it's just like, it would be nice is if you click that OK, it would actually send it to the room owner rather than you having to run up to them and ask them.
No, I got you.
When they don't have them added or something.
No, I got you.
That way the person doesn't have to stop and add this person just to get them in the room.
It would be an interesting concept on hand for that to happen too, as well as basically like, I think too, which I don't think they ever had this situated, which I actually, now that I think about it, I wish they did, would basically, I wish they have a thing where, I don't think it's going to matter too much, but I wish they have a thing where basically they could show like this person's profile, exactly who's coming in, or basically you can just highlight somebody and it will just tell you the profile, and basically like in the sense of too, like, what this and this, like detail wise or so that way you can at least, like, if you ever want to get to know somebody, and if anybody ever went onto like the VRChat website and they like have their profile updated to whatever it is or so, you can at least learn from there what kind of person this is, like in the exact same room if you could. Because I feel like that would open more gateways to be able to, like, interaction and just be able to get to know somebody more. You look at their profile, they tell them a little bit about themselves, oh, okay, hey, anime. All right, let me see if I could just, like, talk a little bit about anime. That should get their, be able to have, like, a small interaction here and there. Something like that.
Yeah.
Open gateways. And speaking of anime, how about we talk about anime?
Anime. I haven't watched a lot of anime lately.
No, it's all good.
But I've sort of been going back and watching like older animes that I sort of started but never finished. They're not like old animes, but like older animes that I enjoyed that I've been meaning to go back. Like I went back to watching Nichijou and what's it called?
I don't remember what
Everyday Lives of High School Boys, like the comedy slice of life stuff.
I got you.
And it's just been fun to just watch comedy anime, because it's just like something where you don't have to think too much about the story stuff.
I was gonna say I had two questions on top of my head for that, anime wise or so. But the first thing would be, what would be an anime off the top of your head? What would be an anime that hits you close to home, in that sense? Like if you could relate to it more than anything else.
It's gonna sound flipping, what's it called? Not niche. Cliche, that's the word.
Cliche.
But one that actually hit close to home was actually My Hero Academia. Cause like that like first episode where it just sort of ends, where it's just like, you can be a hero. I'm just like, because the sort of relationship between All Might and Deku kind of reminds me a little bit about mine to my dad, and how much I look up to him.
No, that's understandable.
And it's just like, it just hit me in the feels so bad. It's like, no.
No,
and another one that sort of hit me quite a bit was Wolf Children.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Because the earlier on, this woman, she has kids with this man who's like half wolf, sort of person, and they have kids, and she loses her husband. I can't remember how she loses him, but I think he like drowns or something. I can't remember, but it like sort of hit me because it's just like I lost my dad, and it's just like
No, I feel you.
a lot of anime and movies that hit me hard is something relating to like losing a parent or something like that, or it's mainly like the father in the like family or something, or it's like something related to like kind of like a father-child sort of bond or something. It just hits me hard.
So,
which is why like the whole like Final Fantasy 15 thing hit me hard, because not just lost his father, and when I watched the movie and found out the context, just hit me way hard, and it's like no.
No, I got you, and I understand it fully. Like, just to lose a parent is the most impactful thing you can ever have, especially when it comes to like a family entirely. You know, not having that guide with you to go with you later on.
I mean, I understand like people that never like knew like a father or something, and they lose him. It's just like, oh, that's sad. But I've known my father for like 27 years, and then he passes away, and it's just like I've known him for that long, and I've grown up with him, and he's just gone.
I understand. I was gonna ask to past that or so, what would be kind of like your favorite animes? Like favorite anime, kind of like different series off the top of your head. If you ever had like a top 10 or like a top 5 or so, or top 3, you know.
Favorite animes. I'm trying to think what animes I've watched. I'm trying to remember the names of them. To be fair, because a lot of the names are in Japanese, so I'm just like, I can't think.
That's all good.
But one anime that I can think of that I really enjoyed, like the animation and all that kind of stuff with, is Demon Slayer.
Demon
Slayer is so good, and I'm looking forward to the movie and subsequent like series potentially if another series comes out, which hopefully it does. And something that my ex actually got me really into is the Fate series.
Fate.
And the Fate series, Fate is like another thing that sort of got me in the feels, like especially the ending to Fate Zero. And it's just like, because it's like with the Fate series, like it's an old anime, so spoiler alert, even though it's like like years old at this point. Spoiler alert, a lot of the characters die.
Well, I was gonna say I don't know the anime, but I can understand why it's called Fate Zero. Because no one else is alive.
The end of the Fate Zero sort of made me cry a bit because of like how emotional the ending was, and again it was like another sort of like a father-child sort of thing-ish. And the first one that I was introduced to with Fate is Apocrypha, and that was just a good show, and I just love the animation.
No.
I'm a big fan of like mad animation.
No, I understand. And like I said, I don't have like a specific kind of thing. Like I would just watch any anime, no matter what it is. I think it's just a matter of basically just kind of like finding the right thing that you can feel for the most part. And it's just one of those things where basically if it's like an emotional scene, I'm probably gonna feel it just because weird emotions I am full of. So, but
yeah. Like I also started watching Fire Force. It's got good animation and stuff, but I kind of dropped off a little bit with it because the story is kind of like, I don't think they translated the story very well into the anime, in my opinion. But
I mean, it's kind of like
whatever.
I mean, it could be like this. It could be like that weird like manga adaptation thing where basically it could be like manga's telling a different story and then them trying to translate something into a different story on hand, like what they did with Dragon Ball Super. Like there was supposed to be stuff from there to there, but they didn't add anything into it. So
I need to watch like Dragon Ball because I've watched the most I've watched like Dragon Ball Z kind of stuff was the abridged series and playing the old PS2 games and stuff.
Oh yeah, Budokai.
But I haven't really watched any of the anime and stuff. But I read the Dragon Ball manga from when Goku was young. I've read all that, and that's pretty much my exposure to Dragon Ball. So I know stuff on Dragon Ball, but I don't know specifics because I haven't watched the anime.
The only thing I will say, the funniest thing I can ever say from Dragon Ball, basically, if you say your special move out loud, it gets more powerful. But past that or so, I have one last question on hand I would like to ask you. And the thing is, like I said, I have this camera right here, and if you just want to take the center floor on hand for this, I will back up and let you have it. But the question I have on hand is, what are your goals and dreams? And if you have it, what would be your best advice you can ever give to anybody out there? And like I said, if you want to look into that camera and just say, because it'll be directed towards everybody else, and I'll back it up for you. So yeah, you're good. There you go. Oh, get a little bit.
Let's see. Oh shit.
There you go.
I got too close.
You can move up a little bit. You're good. Move up a little bit, and you're good. There you go. I'll back up for you.
I'd say like the best. It's gonna sound like cliched sort of advice. I'd say the best way to achieve a dream or a goal is to just keep working at it, and even like through the failure, just keep going and keep going until you get to where you need to be. But also take on board advice and feedback and criticism, because the people that are giving you this advice, giving you this criticism, they're not wanting you to fail, they're wanting to help you. Because if they wanted you to fail, they would just say it's bad or you shouldn't do this. I'd say just take on board people's criticism and keep working on improving by either, like, say, with art, trying a new style of doing something, or a new editing style, or a new way to texture, or a new way to do an animation or whatever. But it's always a good idea to try new things. Don't worry about trying new things because you might suck at the beginning, but if you keep going at it and you keep learning and you keep developing on each skill, you'll get better. That's really all I have.
Alright, that's all good. Yeah, that's all good. And like I said, no matter what it is or so, Pappy, no matter what it is, even if you're sorting things out, goal or dream-wise or so, I know for the fact that basically with that kind of like advice you can never give to anybody, I know you're in the right direction where you want to go, and I know you're patient enough for it too. So you definitely got this.
I'm trying my best.
Hey,
I'm reaching my 30s, and yeah.
that's all anybody in the world can ever ask for, is for you to do your best, no matter what it is. Do your best and be yourself more than anything else. But yeah, with that in mind, guys, that will be episode 10 of Shoot the Breeze.